Hello, my name is Dave Gunter, and welcome. We're going to start our Cyber 101 series, and we're going to kick it off with air gap systems. So let's talk about an air gap system. Let's talk about what it means to be air gapped. Air gap systems, by definition, are not connected. They're not connected to the IT network. They're not connected to the OT network. They may be interfaced with electrical signals. However, there is not a electrical communications highway to this, RS-232, 485, any of that stuff. It is an isolated system. So now that we've defined an air gap, let's talk about what systems we may see that are built for air gap. Some of those systems might be a life safety system. These systems monitor toxic gas in the air. They could be lower explosive limit monitoring. They could be oxygen depletion. The point is, these systems measure the atmosphere, they look for a specific chemical or compound, and they alert either by a horn or by lights or by both. And the reality is that is the get out of the facility type system. There is no automatic means of redemption for those systems, meaning all you can do is turn on fans and run. So the reality is those systems take precedence, and they're like a fire alarm system. You just get out. They really should not be tied to any network. Let's move on to safety instrumented functions. These are basically simple systems that measure an input, make a logical decision, and change an output to move a valve, turn a pump on, turn a fan on. Those systems are relatively simple. They are typically air gapped on purpose because there's not a lot of information other than alarms that would go off. And those systems are typically pretty small in scope. Now, when we move on to safety instrumented systems, now we're talking about multiple sensor, safety rated PLCs, safety rated transmitters, safety rated valves and instruments. The reality on those systems is, depending on the vintage, depending on the risk, they may be air gapped. They may be fit for purpose, meaning built for that operational condition and not networked on purpose. So when you think about those systems, you think about, oh, that's an air gap system. That doesn't mean you're out of the woods on a cybersecurity standpoint. Those systems, if they have network capabilities, they still need hardened. If those systems have ports, if those systems have different ways of communication, you still have to shut those down. You have to reduce the cybersecurity attack surface for those systems, even if they are air gapped. So then let's talk a little bit more about the OT architecture. And there are folks out there that say, look, the system is air gapped. I'm not connected to the network. Again, we just described that the security safety systems do not, if they're air gapped, you still have to harden them. Same thing for these OT systems. If it's air gapped, you still have to harden the system. But then you have to take one other step. So you've hung your security model on the system's air gapped. That's great. Do you have an advanced technology like NAC, network access control, asset discovery, vulnerability discovery that will automatically show if these systems get connected? If you don't, you got to take a step back and say, when was the last time I verified that that system is air gapped and not connected? There are some special approaches, administrative approaches that are taking place right now in the plant with the operation and maintenance team. The operation and maintenance team, they walk the line for safety equipment. They check fire extinguisher charges. They check the hose reels. They check the eye washes. They check the safety showers. They look for debris that build up in certain areas. They do this on a regular basis. It's part of running a safe facility. Add cyber to it. Let them go to the PC on the air gap system. Let them see if they can reach an email. Let them see if they can reach a browser page. See if they can hit a search engine. By doing that, you're validating that the air gap is still in place. That's what you're doing. So a simple add to your safety inspection for cyber. We can add physical to that, where you can check the physical security of those air gap systems, along with the ability of those air gap systems to reach outside the network. So that's a simple technique to verify some of those air gap systems. So, join us again and we'll talk about a new topic in the Cyber 101 series.